He faked college, he faked a job at SpaceX, and when the truth came knocking, his parents vanished. But what drove a 23-year-old to kill the very people who gave him everything? The lies run deeper than you think. And the ending, you won't see it coming. Chandler Michael Halderson was just 23 years old when the unthinkable happened. In his quiet Wisconsin neighborhood, he blended in seamlessly. To outsiders, he was the all-American son. Polite, clean-cut, living at home with his loving parents, Bart and Krista Halderson. He told everyone he was finishing a degree at Madison College in renewable energy engineering. He claimed to be working remotely in IT, with a promising job lined up at none other than SpaceX. To his family, Chandler was going places. But behind the scenes, none of it was true. He had quietly dropped out of college. He didn't have the credits to graduate. He never worked at SpaceX. And the injuries he claimed, like a traumatic brain injury from falling down the stairs, were completely fabricated. He wore a neck brace, claimed memory loss, avoided questions. It bought him time, but also raised red flags. Chandler wasn't just lying. He was building an entire false identity, propped up by forged emails, fake Zoom calls, and a mountain of excuses. His father, Bart Halderson, a meticulous accountant, loved his son, but he trusted facts. And Chandler's story, it wasn't adding up. So, on June 29, 2021, Bart picked up the phone and called Madison Area Technical College. He reached Omar Joby, who calmly told him, "I don't see that your son is admitted in any program." That call shattered everything. No classes, no degree, no truth. Bart texted Chandler later that day, "I spoke with Omar Joby." The house of cards was collapsing, and Chandler knew it. By the next morning, he was panicking, sending texts like, "I hardly slept, stuff's falling apart." Bart was preparing to confront Chandler with the truth, but he had no idea he was about to pay for it with his life. July 1st began like any other summer day in Windsor, Wisconsin. But behind the doors of the Halderson home, something unimaginable was brewing. That morning, Chandler was supposed to meet his father, Bart, at Madison College. Bart had scheduled an in-person meeting with school officials to confirm what he already feared. Chandler had been lying, but that meeting never happened. Sometime that morning, prosecutors believe Chandler shot his father in the back, likely as Bart sat at the computer in the family's sunroom. Hours later, Krista Halderson, Chandler's mother, returned home from work. She was murdered shortly after walking through the door. But this wasn't just a double homicide. It was something far more gruesome. Using tools from the family garage, Chandler dismembered both of his parents. Some remains he burned in the fireplace, where a forensic expert later testified that more than 200 bone fragments were discovered. Others he scattered across remote forest trails, riverbanks, and ditches around rural Wisconsin. This didn't look like panic. Prosecutors argued it was a calculated cover-up. Investigators also obtained Midwest nightmare-level messages between Chandler and his girlfriend. He asked her to bring over a Swiffer mop and hydrogen peroxide, common cleaning supplies, but also tools used to remove blood and glass. It painted a chilling picture. Chandler wasn't acting like a grieving son. He was covering his tracks. On July the 7th, 2021, Chandler Halderson walked into the Dane County Sheriff's Office and calmly reported his parents missing. Before going to police, Chandler took it a step further. He canvassed the neighborhood, ringing doorbells and knocking on doors. He asked neighbors, "Hey, do you happen to have surveillance cameras, and what can they see?" A chilling move, not from a worried son, but from someone trying to get ahead of an investigation. He claimed that Bart and Krista had gone to the family's remote cabin in Langlade County with another couple, a couple he couldn't name, a couple no one else had ever seen. But the story fell apart almost immediately. The family cabin, untouched, no bags packed, no vehicle gone, and the mysterious couple, they simply didn't exist. Detectives began to pull surveillance footage, and what they found raised red flags. Chandler's phone location data told a different story too. He wasn't near the cabin. He was near rural wooded areas and riverbanks, the same places where human remains would soon be discovered. On July 8, 2021, the investigation reached a turning point. A dismembered torso, partially decomposed, was recovered from a rural property owned by Chandler's girlfriend's family. That was Bart, or part of him. And this was just the beginning, because investigators were now racing against time to find Krista, to piece together the timeline, and to figure out just how deep Chandler's lies went. His girlfriend, Catherine "Cat" Melenda, shared a screenshot of Chandler's Snapchat location. It showed him near the Wisconsin River. Earlier, Chandler had messaged Cat, "My great future is falling apart." This wasn't just panic, it was foreshadowing. And soon, investigators would have enough to take him down. A week later, on July the 14th, in a completely different location near the Wisconsin River, additional remains were uncovered. This time, they were confirmed to be Krista Halderson. Parts of her were found in the woods, others in a river, dismembered and scattered to conceal the evidence. The entire Wisconsin community was stunned. How could a 23-year-old, their own son, commit something so calculated, so cold, so inhuman? What disturbed investigators the most was Chandler's behavior after the murders. He appeared disturbingly calm in interviews, smiling in photos, texting friends as if nothing had happened. This wasn't just a double murder, it was the ultimate betrayal of trust, a web of deception unraveling in real time. And yet, even with growing evidence, Chandler kept lying. In fact, his biggest performance was still to come. In January 2022, Chandler Halderson stood before a jury, no longer the smiling, soft-spoken young man from the neighborhood. Now he was the accused in one of the most disturbing true crime cases Wisconsin had ever seen. He faced 8 felony charges, split between each victim. First-degree intentional homicide, providing false information on a kidnapped or missing person. Mutilating a corpse, hiding a corpse. The prosecution was relentless. They meticulously dismantled Chandler's web of lies brick by brick. On March 17, 2022, it took the jury just 2 hours to deliver an unanimous verdict, guilty on all counts. Chandler, Michael Halderson, was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. There was no apology, no explanation, just a guilty verdict and silence. Just a cold, calculated crime, and a son whose lies turned lethal. But even with the trial over, haunting questions still remain. This isn't just a story about lies and murder. It's about 2 parents who loved their son, supported his dreams, and never saw the darkness coming. But that's what makes this case so haunting. Not rage, not money. Prosecutors believe it was something more insidious: ego, shame, fear. Light a digital candle in the comments to honor Bart and Krista Halderson. And tell us, what do you believe pushes someone to cross that line between fear and violence? If you were Chandler, what would you have done differently? Your voice matters. Let's remember them, not just for how they died, but for the love they gave and the truth they never got to see. The story of Chandler Halderson is more than just a murder case. It's a psychological unraveling, a chilling reminder that sometimes monsters aren't strangers in the dark. Sometimes they eat dinner at your table. Let this case remind us the truth always comes out, and sometimes it comes with a body count.